Welcome to Chat with Nomads, where we uncover travel insights, business advice, adventure stories, and lifestyle tips with world travelers and digital nomads. Here is your host, Rax, from nomadsunveiled.com.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Chat with Nomads. Today is a magical day because we have with us the freelance fairy herself, Alex Fasulo. Hi Alex, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's glad to have you. So Alex, you are best known for basically making more than $1 million as a freelance writer on the popular freelancing platform Fiverr, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But I think in the bigger picture, you're actually a very self-driven entrepreneur that's running multiple different businesses, right? And I don't think a lot of people see that side of you as much as just the freelancer side. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a bit about that and also about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. I guess I'm what you would call a serial entrepreneur because I am always working on 10, 12 different projects at the same time beyond just doing Fiverr. And I obsessed over Fiverr the last 5, 6 years. It's obviously paid off for me, but I think as a classic entrepreneur type, I get bored very easily. So I end up doing all of these different crazy things. I run a business with my mom called Campfire Trailers, where we take horse trailers and flip them into mobile bars. I have my own mobile app called iPop, which is a trending photo map app. I have my own personal brand. I have my bookstore, online courses. I'm always exploring different businesses and actually recently very much looking into residual income that can kind of generate a certain base of income each month for me. Not so that I can retire, because I never really actually want to retire, but I'm very interested in residual income right now. That's definitely at the top of my list.
Yep, I reckon there might be a shift towards that as well, because I think technology is changing so fast and a lot of businesses really need to adapt to like the changing times and technologies.
Yep.
But I guess there's definitely a trend towards, let's say, micro entrepreneurs. They are trying to do multiple different projects, and then basically we do something that fits with the time, and then when the time passes, we'll jump to the other thing that makes sense along with like what's coming on. So I can see that you're definitely riding on the same wavelength in that case.
Yeah, I think that's where the internet has changed everything, because one person now can run 5 different internet businesses, whereas in the past, you would just have your one business. That's all you could do. But I know plenty of people who have, an Amazon store, online courses, TikTok platform, YouTube, they have 10 different things for just one person. So I like what you said, a micro entrepreneur, did you say?
Yeah, something like that. I think some people term it as that way, yeah, which kind of makes sense, I guess, because you are not really looking to run like a whole big business, right? But really multiple small businesses kind of thing.
Right. Exactly. No, I think that's what's crazy about today. There's so many moving parts, so much you could be doing.
Yep, for sure. Let's talk a bit about Fiverr, just because I think the audience would like to hear about Fiverr. But guys, those who are listening in, I just like to say that Alex has a lot of content regarding Fiverr on her TikTok account, as well as her freelancing Facebook group called, what's it called? Freelancing Mentorship with Alex Fasulo.
Yeah, the long title. It's called Freelancing Mentorship with Alexandra Fasulo. It's long.
Okay, cool. Very specific. Yeah, so if you go on those 2 platforms, you can already get a lot of content on that. So we'll touch a bit on that, but I really want to dig into like other parts that, we don't see as much of you online. Just on the topic of Fiverr. So I guess one of the main thing is a lot of people starting out, especially now that they have lost their job through the pandemic, they're looking to jump into freelancing. And definitely there's a debate on whether both from the supplier or the vendor side, as well as the client side, on whether Fiverr is actually a good platform to use. Because I think some of the complaints there are like the price competition is high. And one of the reasons Fiverr was called Fiverr was that it used to be a platform whereby you can pay $5 and get something done, right? But it has definitely evolved. So what do you think are the pros and cons of using Fiverr versus like building your own website and just trying to do sales and source clients?
Yeah. Okay. So what I would say is, Fiverr gets me more leads than I could ever get on my own. So when I log on to Fiverr every day, about 20 people have messaged me that night seeking out my services. And I'm working on it, but I haven't been able to replicate that on my own, with my own LinkedIn or email. And I'm trying to match it, but I just can't. So the leads that Fiverr gives me is you can't compare to it. But then on the flip side, those leads came from Fiverr. So Fiverr takes 20%, and Fiverr in a way is the boss of you still, which any, classic type A entrepreneur person doesn't like having a boss. That's why we're all out here doing this. So sometimes having a boss, like watching what I'm doing on there can be frustrating to like a type A personality, which is why I am actually exploring getting my own leads, because I don't want to forever be the Fiverr girl, even though like that is me. I am the Fiverr girl and I'm like proud of it, but I don't want to forever be that. So it's like, I'm putting in a lot of work right now to go actually find my own leads. So, the difference is I think on Fiverr, it's easier in a way. You sign up, boom, the leads can start coming in immediately. To go find the leads on your own, you have to put in time. You have to set up systems. You have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. But then in the end, you're not losing 20%. So that's kind of the trade-off. I think it's a fair one. I think it's fair that Fiverr takes 20% because they do get you your leads. They're working as your marketing department. So I don't find it unfair, but that's just the trade-off with it.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us a bit more about this thing about expanding from Fiverr, because I have the same issue, right? Like I told you, I started from Upwork. I think a lot of people are trying to get started on like platforms like Upwork and Fiverr, and there is pros to that. But for people that have done it to a certain level, I think we are really looking at scaling out of it, because we don't want to put all our eggs in a basket, right? So if Upwork collapse tomorrow or Fiverr collapse tomorrow, then we are in deep shit. So what are you trying to do to try and put your eggs into more basket, just in terms of writing? Because obviously I know you're doing all the other stuff, which is also part of, trying to source your things to more areas. But just in terms of writing, how are you trying to branch out?
So I actually freelance on Shopify. They have a closed marketplace. So I use that. And actually Wednesday this week, I'm speaking to a guy who does email automation, and I'm going to sign up with him and have him start reaching out to email lists to get me my own personal clients. And I'm also going to start doing it on LinkedIn and through Instagram DMs. So I'm going to have email, LinkedIn, and Instagram, hopefully bringing me high paying leads, because I don't want to have to go for the volume where I need 10 a day. I'd rather find 3 of them that need 100 blogs a month or something, like a big order. This week, actually, I'm starting doing that because Fiverr, again, it's been great, but I want to start branching out and maybe grow my own personal business that's not necessarily affiliated with Fiverr, because that's just smart. It's just smart to not be reliant on one thing. That's a scary place to be in. And I always tell people starting out freelancing, don't just do one site. Try Upwork, try Fiverr, try Freelancer, try a bunch. Don't just stick to one thing, because you can't always rely on just like one thing.
Yes, I agree on that as well. But it's also kind of hard to cross-platform, I guess, because I know that if I'm going to start like doing Fiverr now, it's still going to be difficult for me, just even though I have like a established profile on Upwork, right? Have you tried trying to do cross-platforms?
Yeah, I'm on Shopify right now. I actually tried Upwork in the beginning, but I just didn't like it as much as Fiverr. I didn't like that I had to apply for jobs and do free work. It just didn't really vibe with me, but I gave both of them an equal chance. Like I didn't just do Fiverr. I went on both and I waited to see which one took off. So, Fiverr consumes 90% of my time today. But then the other 10%, I do all my other stuff, and I am on the Shopify marketplace. So those are the 2 marketplaces I'm in. And there's nothing wrong with Upwork. It just didn't really take off for me. But I know a lot of people who make a ton of money on it and they love it.
I think we can talk a bit about Fiverr and Upwork. It will be interesting just because we are on 2 different channels, and I think we have both found success on it. My take about Fiverr, or what I like about it, just from the way I see, is that you can really get leads without really having to sell. Like you say, you don't need to pitch, you don't need to basically apply. And the clients are just like shopping on the e-commerce platform, right? And they buy your service. And I kind of foresee, and I'm not sure if this is true, but I reckon there's a lot less communication that needs to be done, just because if you get a more, for example, straightforward client, they will just make the purchase, and then you get the materials, you just do it and just send it. And you might not even need to speak too much about it, and you can finish the deal. Whereas on Upwork, first you need to apply, and then of course there's a lot more communication about like, oh, you need to send me this or that. But the pro I really see on Upwork is that, especially on freelancing platforms, because for freelancing platforms, the price point is generally a bit lower than if you had gone out to close a deal yourself, like with big companies, right? Because I think most clients going onto freelancing platforms are a bit price sensitive. And of course, some of this space, like for example, in graphic design, you have to compete with people, for example, from India or from third world countries, and then they are pricing at like very low price points, right? And the way that I do it, or the way I kind of succeeded on it, is that I don't sell design per se, right? My edge has always been that if you are just looking for design, you don't come to me. I'm basically business-driven design. That means you come to me not just for design, but also for the business advice that comes along that is applied in the design, or why is designed this way for whatever your business goal is, right? And that is, I think, kind of rare to find in terms of hiring freelancers on these platforms.
Yeah, I heard people say like a similar thing where Fiverr is designed to be quick, like one and done. You know, you get on, you might not, a lot of the times right now I'm talking to you, someone might book a service. I've never spoken to them before. And, you know, one and done. But because it's one and done, their budgets are lower on a Fiverr versus an Upwork, where you do have to go through that work with them. But I think once you earn their trust, I've heard people say they're a higher paying client and a long-term client. So they'll be paying you a couple thousand a month because you earn their trust almost. Whereas on Fiverr, it's a lower price point, but there's less communication. So it kind of comes down to like your preference of if you like short-term stuff or long-term stuff. I think that's how I've heard people break down the two platforms more accurately. I don't know if you would like agree with that.
I guess so, but I'm just wondering, because you were saying like Upwork is for more long-term clients, do you have any long-term clients on Fiverr as well?
I do. I have a lot of returning clients. I would say my business has grown on Fiverr, not because more people have found me, but because I'm carrying over these repeat customers that each year it keeps increasing when I'm making. I do get the returning clients, but I feel like in the beginning with anyone on Fiverr, it's designed to be short term. So it's like you have to almost get through an order and not have them cancel on you, not have them get pissed off. You know, you have to win them over first on an order, then for them to come back. It's like a little bit of a gamble almost.
Yeah, I would agree on that. And it's a bit, I guess the starting point though is a bit the same for both. And I think we both started using the same strategy, as in we charge low and we over deliver for all our early clients. And then with that, you build a reputation. And then after that, you increase your price and then you go on to do different stuff, right? So for me, it's like I do have a few long-term clients that I work with. And one thing I kind of don't like about Upwork. So the thing for me is that I hate communication. Like I think that's the most time wasting thing ever, right? So whenever I submit for a job and the first reply they tell me is that, hey, let's schedule a Skype call or let's schedule a Zoom call, I'll be like, nah, maybe not. You know, so yeah, and I think that's the good thing about Fiverr, right? No one is going to be like, hey, let's Skype to talk about the draft or whatever. But I like most of my long-term clients is for the reason that I think they engage me knowing my value. So they value their time and they know that they want me to be able to handle a lot of the stuff myself without them having to talk to me, which then save both of us time, right? And that is where they really take advantage of my skill sets compared to someone who wants to like, hey, let's Skype and then let me tell you my idea of blah, 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 and then like all this stuff.
I can't stand that.
Yeah. So there's this joke among designers whereby if I design and you don't do anything, that's the cheapest. If you design and I help you design, then I'm going to charge you a lot because you are going to be like, hey, let's move this here, move this there. And then ultimately I end up with a piece that I think kind of looks like shit, but you might be happy with it. And I'm like, okay.
I would agree with you.
So on the point about increasing prices, right, as you move along, when is a good time to raise your prices? Because I'm sure a lot of people are like a bit scared, like, hey, if I raise my price, then demand is going to drop, which is probably going to be the case. But when do you know that it's a good time to increase prices and how do you usually go about doing it?
So I always tell people on Fiverr, like the people I help, that there's two signs you should do it. Fiverr has a ranking system. I don't know if Upwork does, where it's like level 1, level 2, top level, like your profile can be ranked. And I always tell people when you advance a rank, like if you go from level 1 to level 2 or level 2 to top level, you can justify a price increase because Fiverr has promoted you in essence. And the other time is I'll have people say to me, I'm working 16 hours a day. I'm turning work away. My profile has blown up so big. I don't know what to do. I'm turning work away. And I always say to people, never turn work away. That means prices are way too low. So if that is happening, I'll say to people, raise your prices, but not dramatically. You don't want to startle your people. I say, if anything, do very subtle price raises, like $5 at a time. Nobody will notice. And next, you do it $5, 6 months later, $5, 6 months later. Next thing you know, you're making, double what you were making, and the client doesn't even really notice. So those are the times I kind of tell people to raise their prices. Obviously, though, for anyone listening, like it is a case by case basis. And I can't always say, because I don't want people to come and say, oh, I raised my prices and I lost all my business. That's why I say raise them very gradually and small, like small raise amounts, because you don't want to send all your returning clients out the door. Some of them might drop off, but you'll get new ones. It's all part of the process.
I think that's true. And I guess this is also a bit of where Upwork and Fiverr has a bit difference, because for Upwork, you actually bid on the project regardless of your rates, right? Like I can put like a certain hourly rate on my profile, but when I submit a bid for the project, it might not be that price. I can put like a lower price or even a higher price, although I don't really think anyone puts a higher price. But so it's less tricky in terms of like, you can just change whatever number you want to put on the profile. As long as when you apply, it's whatever you want to charge, right? And the profile amount is more like for people who want to invite you to bid for their projects. Then that probably makes a bit of a difference. Yeah. But I guess the main thing I really see here, or I face myself here, is a bit of the paralysis of trying to raise your price because you're so scared that a drastic change might happen due to you increasing the price. You might lose so many jobs that you are just like, shit, I'm just going to keep it that way. And then you're always working on the same level, and that kind of sucks, right? So what I see is really to be able to just take a step and test it out. Like you say, maybe by doing small steps on Fiverr, because the amount matters directly in the case of Fiverr. And then just give it a shot, try it out for a bit. If it doesn't work, you only lose a few couple $100 or $1,000 a month. And then after that, you can keep tweaking the pricing. I think that kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I had a big jump in my pricing because I went from level 2 to Fiverr Pro, which is like the 1%, top 1% of the platform. It's like a little marketplace. And I went from charging, $25 for something to $100, which is insane. And that's, only because I was accepted into that program. But I got a lot of angry messages from buyers when they saw that their $25 package is now $100. They were like, who do you think you are? Are you kidding me? And I was like, listen, I don't know what to tell you. Fiverr Pro starts at $100, but since then I've gotten all brand new clients that come in at a $100 price point. So I understand that fear, but if your quality work is increasing, then you're always going to have a buyer who's willing to pay for it. But don't scare them, your buyers, if you don't have to. Don't do a massive increase for no reason.
That's interesting, actually, because, well, for my case, there's a bit of issue whereby a lot of my long-term clients from the past, I'm still charging like almost a bit of my lower. Now, what's my lower rate, just because I increased my rates, but I don't really raise my rates for them just because I know that they have been with me since the start. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep you there, and then I'll just get new deals as I move on, right? But I do struggle a bit with that, in that I'm like sometimes thinking, shit, man, I should actually be charging more for my old clients as well. But I like working with they are good clients that I like to work with. So I don't really mind in that sense.
Exactly.
Maybe you can tell us more about deeper details of your journey of increasing that price because of this reluctance to change. And I think you spoke a bit about it on some of your TikTok content, in that it's sometimes a bit of like you valuing yourself because you're not sure, you have a lack of confidence on like, am I actually worth this price, right? That's one reason. The other reason is back to the same idea whereby if I raise my price, clients are going to get angry and then I'm going to lose all my clients. But you have tried it and you have went through this process whereby the old clients die off, but there's always new clients. So talk to us about like your mindset and maybe also like a bit of how that transition, because from what I hear, it seems to have gone quite smoothly for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because I didn't really have a choice, is kind of how it went. Because Fiverr said, hey, if you're going to be part of this program, you're going to have to increase your prices a lot. It goes into the marketing. If you're the top 1% of our platform, we want your price to reflect that. Because it's like if you go into a store and you see a $10 lamp and an $85 lamp, you're just going to assume the $85 lamp is higher quality. It might not actually always be the case, but you're just, you're going to assume it. So they kind of told me that I didn't really have a choice, which I guess was good because I didn't have time to think it over or get all worried about it. I just went in full steam ahead. And I lost most of my older clients because they, if they were spending 25, they don't have 100. But the people who are on the platform looking for that top 1%, they're at a really rich corporation or they have a ton of money, whatever. They then see me and buy from me because they're like, they want to tell their friends like, oh, I used a Fiverr Pro. It's all that same buying psychology. So yeah, I mean, if you have a fear that, oh, you'll never have new clients, I get that fear, but don't let it stop you because it didn't stop me. And, now I'm at a point where I'm obviously making, way more money than if I had hung around at $25.
So I assume you kind of saw maybe like a dip in the first month when you made the switch. Was it just 1 month or 2 months and then you saw it go up again?
I wouldn't even really say I dipped because if you almost do the math on it, I would have had to have 4 buyers at $25 equal just one person buying $100. So, I had way less clients, but the money actually never dipped because it was such a big increase. And I've always made sure that I have income streams off of Fiverr just in case. So, in the past, I used to do private social media management. I mean, like I will hustle if I need to hustle. I will always like find a way, influencer posts like, oh, $300, $200. I'll always find a way to have like something else coming in so I don't panic. But my actual Fiverr income never went down. Actually, every year since I started in 2015, it has gone up. It has never had a backslide year since 2015. Nice. Yeah, I don't want to jinx it. Maybe 2021 will be.
Well, but you have a lot of baskets now, so I don't think like there's a big concern about taking a bit of risk here and there. I guess that's the perks of it, right?
Totally. I always say to people, that's why you should save your money and invest it. 'Cause that's what I did. And you reach a point where you don't have to be scared to meet basic necessities with your money anymore, which is, I know, a blessing that most people don't ever get to know. So save your money.
Cool. There's something that I really like to know from your side, and is even from my point of view, is that I see that you're doing a whole lot of stuff, right? So
yeah.
I reckon time management, I saw one of your posts, you're talking about like discovering all the time management hacks actually brought you from the 5-figure realm to the 6-figure realm.
Yeah.
Right. So I really want to know what's your secret to time management.
I think people will ask me this all the time, and then I'll tell them, and it's actually quite boring talking about time management. I can see their eyes gloss over and they don't care anymore because they want to hear it's some secret spell or something, but it's just boring stuff. It's waking up early every day, no matter what, even if you're out late the night before duty calls. It's waking up every morning. It's following the same schedule, even if you're traveling, like it's no days off. It's actually quite boring stuff. It's being a very disciplined and focused person and actually realizing that there's nothing sexy about time management at all. And there's nothing sexy really about being an entrepreneur or a freelancer. You're still at your computer, busting your ass like the same way you would be in an office place. So it's just, classic stuff like I'll turn my phone over or I'll take a break around noon. I make sure I eat like fruits and vegetables and things that are, will help me stay alert. It's all really boring stuff. It's just being very disciplined every day. No excuses when it comes to time management. There's no time to make up a reason why you're not focused one day. It's waking up and committing yourself to being focused no matter what. And there's not, it's not exciting. So when I tell people that, they're like, oh, I want a better answer.
The main thing for me was that when I started doing more projects, then there is this issue of sometimes, especially, I'm not sure if you have this problem because you are also doing multiple businesses that are not fully correlated, right? Because you're writing on one hand, and I think on your mom's business, you're really doing more of the creative, the photography.
Yeah.
And then, of course, your courses, you're doing filming. So it's very different approach to all three things. And the mindset while you're doing these things might be a bit different. But on the other hand, your mind is always thinking, oh, I have to grow this business this way, that business that way. And you're like, shit, I have so much stuff to do for every project, right?
Yeah.
So how do you, stay focused on, like, when you're writing, you're just writing. When you're doing other stuff, you're just doing other stuff.
That's a good question. I segment my day out where first thing when I wake up until about right now actually is writing business time and nothing else. So it's all about Fiverr, getting my own leads, growing my writing team, everything. And then lunchtime hits, I'll eat some lunch, maybe work out a little, go for a walk. And then in the afternoon, I'll segue from writer to photography, videography, filming TikTok, social media. So I'll like jump into the media side of my brain from like 2 to 5. And then at 5, I'll go back to the writer brain for like another hour or two to close up the day. So, and I'll follow that every day because I'm my most focused. I'm my most intensely focused in the morning, which is why I do my hardest work, my writing in the morning. I try and get it all done by now. So like by now I'm done with my writing for the day. And my brain isn't as focused in the afternoon, but it's still able to do creative stuff like film or take pictures because that's not as taxing on my brain as writing. So I kind of follow my natural focus because I think some people are more focused at night. Like what time of day would you say you're more alert?
Oh, that's a tough question. I kind of think it's probably in the day for me. But the thing is, I tend not to do work in the day, as in like I usually try and put my workouts in the day just because I get it done first.
Yeah.
The gym and stuff. And then after that I'll start working. But for me it's just, well, okay, so the problem with me is that I'm not like a very disciplined person in that sense. Like I dislike the idea of having to stick to a certain schedule. Although I'm gradually finding it true that I do have to have a very good schedule in order to optimize my productivity. Sometimes I tend to start doing stuff at like 12 at midnight, and then I get so engrossed into it, I'll start doing, like you're in the zone. And then you end up at like 4 a.m. in the morning, and then 4 a.m. you go to sleep.
But it's like I say to people, if that's when you have to identify like when are you're most focused? Is it the afternoon? Is it night? Is it morning? And you almost have to like build your schedule around that. So for me, it's waking up early. I've identified that at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. I'm laser sharp focused and I'm like ready to go. So by recognizing that, I put my hardest work then. And right now is when I would actually go to the gym because this is when my brain starts to slow down. So I always say to people, get to know yourself and your own schedule, almost like your own brain and body schedule, and kind of build around that. Because that's what I've done, I think, with my day. And I think that's how you can be your most productive.
Yeah, for sure. I do agree with that. And that's what I'm trying to set in place for myself as well
Yeah.
as I do more stuff. I really need to focus on one business at a time. One of the reasons that caused that is that foundation for me on Upwork is my response time is really fast. And that I know how to segment my work and break it down directly. So I know that, okay, if I'm doing a big piece of work, but a client comes in with a revision, but I know that revision can be done. It's just a 5-minute thing, right? And then I'll just break off from my original work and I'll get the 5 minutes work done and send it out straight away. So that kind of was one of the key pillars of why I think most clients love me at the start, because my turnaround time is so fast. They will send it and I'll give them back in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's not really sustainable in the long run, just because sometimes you need a concentration to focus on one thing, like especially writing. For me, I need a lot of concentration to do writing. So when I write and something comes in and it breaks my train of thoughts, then I'm like, shit.
Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. What's it called? I just wrote an ebook about it the other day. When you enter flow state, when your brain is so captivated and focused on one thing that you don't even notice, like if something runs by you.
Yeah.
And this book was about how to enter your flow state more, because that's when you do your best work.
Oh, I need that book, I think.
Yeah. Right? No, I should go find out where they're going to publish it.
Cool. Is going to be an ebook?
Probably. I just write it, I give it to them, and I'm like, have a good one. I'm gonna go do with this, but I don't really care.
Okay, cool. So I'm just curious, right now, are you still doing all the writing yourself, or do you have a small team of other writers that you kind of outsource, like certain maybe smaller projects to?
So starting last year, like 2018 was when my work started to become too much for just me. So in 2018, I started working with one other writer, or no, 2019, because it's 2021. 2019, I started working with one other writer. And then 2020, I actually brought on one more. So it's me and two other writers. I actually think I need a third now. So I have to go do that process. But my team's growing. I have my app guy, two writers, two virtual assistants, and my guy who edits my podcast. So the team is growing. I use them all in like an independent contractor arrangement. So they're kind of like my freelancers that freelance for me, but it works out. And I'm sure I'll add a few more this year even.
Where do you find them? Do you find them on Fiverr as well?
No, you're actually not allowed to message other sellers on Fiverr and like ask them to work with you.
Oh.
I just post that I'm looking to hire on Instagram and Facebook, and I get 100 people right in. It's super easy.
Nice.
Yeah, because everybody wants to, nobody wants to be the boss. Like everyone is like, oh, cool, I could be a freelancer, but then like also have her tell me what to do every day, and they love it. My worst nightmare, because I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. So it works out.
Cool. And do you find any challenges with it, like to transit from like a single writer now to being able to manage like a group of people instead, in terms of like, for example, quality assurance on the work produced and those kind of stuff?
I put them through quality tests like really before I onboard them. So I'll have them do a writing test, and I'll test them in a bunch of ways. So I know by the time they make it to the end that they're going to be someone I can count on. But I don't really find it hard. I mean, I have like the one guy do website content and blogs, and the other guy is just doing ebooks. So they don't even really like interact. They're just separate people. I have to like get used to their personalities per se, but wouldn't say it's any harder. I think adding a third one in won't really change much for me.
And do you hire only in the States, or are you doing like international?
I would do international. They happen to be in the States. I mean, I do need them to write in American English more so than like British English. So I guess I would prefer that they be American. But like my virtual assistants are in the Philippines. So I think, if for anything else, I don't care. But for writing, probably from the States.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about the digital nomad aspect of it. And I think we can really start off with this idea that there's a notion around that digital nomads are just living their life and enjoying their time every day without having to work much. I think that is something that kind of needs to be overthrown, because I'm pretty sure, looking at the people that I know, especially entrepreneurs who are digital nomads, I think we are working a lot more than the normal office hours sometimes. So how's your situation like?
Okay, I feel like what people don't get from the digital nomad life is that, yes, you are traveling, and yes, you are seeing really amazing things. But what you just said is you're often working overtime for it, because if you're not working, that work isn't going anywhere. It's still waiting for you. So if you decide to take a 4-hour break in the afternoon to go hike in the Rocky Mountains, that's great, but you're going to have to do that 4 hours of work you missed when you get back to your room. So I think it's, to be a digital nomad I love it, but I think it blends work and play a lot. There's not really a work-life balance, and you have to be okay with that, because you can play as you go, but you also need to work as you go. And you might have to work all day Sunday. You might have to work Saturday morning because you want to take Monday off to go do something local. So if you're one of those people that needs that turn off at like Fridays at 5 p.m., you need to know that you don't have to work again until Monday. Then like it would not work for you, because you have to be okay with it always kind of being relevant. Like, or if you're on a hike, you might have to answer an email while you're on the hike. So, it's like, I think it's romanticized, and it is a great thing and a really cool thing. And I think it's awesome. You're traveling all the time. It is great, but you're working really hard too, really hard. Same thing with influencers. I feel like influencers get a bad rep. And I think people think it's, these girls sitting around doing nothing, be like, oh, bring me a fruit bowl. But it's like, I've seen the behind the scenes of it, and those people are busting their asses still. And they're taking 5,000 pictures before they get the one. And it is not glamorous. You're sweating, you're yelling at each other. Like, nothing is as it seems ever. It's all marketing.
For sure. I think the bad rap from influencer come from most of like the idea of them doing fake stuff just for a photo. I think that's the bad thing. But I definitely also do agree, like the behind the scenes are usually not known to the other people, right? Like you see a piece of content, you think like, hey, it's so easy. Like I just take a shot and then that's done. But like you say, a lot of effort goes into like the photography. You need to take a lot of stuff. Maybe you need to script your video and all those kind of things that's involved.
Yeah, no, I feel for them, because it's like photos are what we consume online today. They do make an impact on what you buy. So naturally, having people take a nice photo is going to help a company make sales. So I feel bad for influencers because I think they get caught in the crossfire. But nothing is easy, and nothing that looks amazing is easy to obtain. So if it looks too good to be true, probably is.
Yeah. And I guess for a lot of us, it's also what you were saying, depending, especially for freelancers, I think particularly relevant is that the moment we stop working, the income stream stops, at least from the freelancing side, right? Because I went to Antarctica for 16 days. Basically, I have to sort out everything way beforehand and then tell my clients, okay, if you have anything, you got to reach out to me in these 2 weeks. And after
Yeah.
that, I'll just disappear for like 2 weeks plus and then come back to it.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a lot of time involved in a lot of things we do, but there's a misconception just because most of the stuff we share on social media is the fun part of it, right? You would rather
Right.
share your memories traveling than you sitting and working. Like there's nothing that interesting about that.
Exactly. I think, it's just knowing that going into each day when you go on social media, it's easy to understand. Like people are sharing the best of their day. They're not sharing the worst of it. And just understand that when you see it. And, it's easy. Like, oh, okay, that looks like it was amazing. She probably had a bad moment that day, but she didn't share it. Sometimes I wonder why that's so hard for people kind of to get that. Like, it's okay. It's just that was the highlight of their day.
Mm-hmm. So how do you because I see your schedule and your day is always quite packed, right? And we are kind of different in terms of like the way I see for you, you focus a lot on your work schedule first, and then you maybe segment out certain times to do your travel stuff, right? Whereas for me, it's a lot about travel first. So I basically do all my travels that I want to do. And then I still remember there are times whereby I might be in a hostel at 12 midnight. I will just be at the common area and then just doing my stuff. And everywhere the lights are out and everything, I'll just be sitting there trying to get my stuff done. So it's a bit funny in the sense that there's a difference. So how do you usually handle like your schedule between travel and work?
Well, I have a hotspot on my phone. That was huge. To be able to bring the internet with me, I think is really important. I mean, because I have a team now, if I'm going to be flying all day, like I was last week when I went to Utah, in advance, I'll just outsource more of my work to my team. That's kind of how I'll handle traveling. I'll just rely more on them than I normally do. And I'll usually give them a heads up like, hey guys, for 4 days, I'm going to be doing this. So I'm going to be outsourcing more work to you than normal. Is that okay with you? And then if one of them's like, oh no, I can't handle it, I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'll message the other people and be like, is that okay with you? And I'll kind of like get them all set up. So it'll be kind of a system like that where if one of them tells me like, hey, in June, I'm getting married. So for this whole week, like I can't do anything. And I'll be like, no problem. Thank you for telling me that. Because then I'll know going into that week, I'll have more work than normal. So it's kind of just like an ecosystem where, if I know that it's an intense travel day, I'll kind of hand more of it off than normal.
Do you feel like there are certain places or activities that you want to do that is really hindered by this notion of always having to be connected? That means, for example, like if you want to go into deep nature, like places like Patagonia or like wherever in the States that's fully nature for like 5-6 days, can't really do that?
I feel like I would love to do things like that maybe as I get older. So I almost feel like that's a reward, kind of like I would reward myself with something like that in 10 years once I've figured out how to get my courses and my ebooks and my YouTube and everything to make all this money with or without me there. Like that'll be the moment I've like cracked the code, and then I can go do something like that. But I feel like I want to save that to reward myself, if that's like, I guess how I would about it.
Yeah, I understand. So because we don't see that much of it on your social accounts, like how's your travel style right now at the moment? Where do you usually go, and what kind of things do you usually do? Do you do cities more or nature or?
All of it. I feel like I'm getting more anti-city and more outside of city fun. Because I've lived in New York, I've been in Miami, I've been in LA, I've been in all the big cities. I'm only talking about the US right now because of COVID. Yeah. Like I'm gonna, I can't just like hop on a plane to Japan, even though I would love to. So I feel like for right now in the US, I'm having fun exploring like the lesser traveled parts of the country. And that's just kind of been my focus because I'm 28 now. And I'm less into partying and drinking stuff than I was like 6 years ago when I was 22. I was like, oh, I want to go to Reykjavik and Tokyo and all these places, and I want to party and go to the clubs. And now I don't really want to do that anymore as much. So I'm happier waking up early and like going to find a really cool hike with a waterfall.
Yep.
So right
Yep.
now, like, yeah, nature and like less city focused.
Okay, okay. That sounds cool. And I see you've been traveling a lot for business purpose, right? I think last week or even now you're traveling to do a film for your course as well, right?
Yeah, it was last week. If I'm still, sometimes I end up having leftover content, so it might look like I'm still there, but
Ah,
I last week, so I'm back in Florida today. Yeah, but yeah, I was in Utah. It was beautiful.
mhm. And so on this topic, I see you are moving a lot more from, and I think you touched a bit on it just now, is that you're moving a lot more from just being a freelancer or writer to building a personal brand, right?
Yes.
So what are the challenges that you have kind of faced along the way in the transition?
It's funny. I was actually talking with some girls that are having a group on Instagram this morning. And the challenge I'm having right now is taking what I have, this brand, and almost finding a way to make it even more universal because I want more people to want to join in on it naturally. So, all this time I've been the Fiverr girl, the freelance Fiverr girl. And I'm kind of working to figure out a newer, more umbrella brand, which is like the remote work girl or like the girl who helps you quit your job, like something that's way more applicable to like everyone because I want it to bring more and more people in so it grows and grows and grows. So I think the hard part of that is figuring out, I have a brand right now that has worked for me. So it's kind of scary is finding a new brand that includes that, but other things too, and finding how to word it so that it resonates with people. I'm like currently trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was just speaking to a couple of friends as well, but on this idea of the future of digital nomads. And I think
Yeah.
there's a trend right now whereby this is the so-called the hype of it. But I kind of feel like and I might do a podcast about this because I was just thinking about it. I thought it would be really interesting. Um, I always like to see things from like a third point of view. Like whenever something goes extreme to one side, I always like to look at the flip side of it and see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I always feel like the people in the digital nomad community now are a bit in a self-confirming bias in the sense that because everyone belongs to a similar community, there's this reinforcement of the idea that, digital nomads are going to take over the world and then like everyone's going to be a digital nomad in future
Yeah.
and that.
Yeah,
But
no, yeah.
I kind of don't think that will be the case because I do think like the community will grow, but this notion of people traveling for long periods of time is actually not that coherent with the human nature, right? I think to our human roots, most of us still want to have a base and still want to have a
Yeah.
normal life and stuff.
Yeah, I relate
Yeah.
to that.
So my take on this is always that I think at least for the near future, the big thing is actually remote work, but remote work in the sense of like a combination of remote work and holidays, because there has been this notion that it has always been in play in the corporate world, whereby my holidays are not long enough, right? And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is applicable to all cultures in that most corporate workers or office workers, they always try to lump their leave days with like public holidays so that they can get like a long stretch of off days and they can make a trip, right? So that is the issue that I think remote work really solve. Like companies like Spotify and Salesforce are now trying to move workers into like a remote system. I think there will be more people traveling for like maybe say a month, right? But the intention is never to say like I think a bulk of digital nomads are traveling in the sense that, oh, we are going to go for like 2 years, 3 years or whatever not, right? But I don't think a bulk of the people will have this mindset of like, hey, I want to go around without a home for a few years. But there will be a big portion of people that just want to bring their work on the road and maybe stay in a place
Yeah.
for a month, but they will eventually want to go back to where their home is, right?
Yeah. And I could talk about this all day. I think
Yep.
that exact feeling has given rise to two things I'm noticing is van life, which is huge. People who have converted vans into their home because they can travel, eternally then, but their home is coming with them. So like their base is coming around with them. They're not just staying in all these different hostels. And I think there is something very like appealing about that. I actually follow this guy on TikTok. He makes over 100K a month, and he lives out of a van, and people say to him, oh, you're lying, because if you actually made that money, you'd have some big home. And he says to them, that's where he's like, you'll never make 100K a month because you don't understand why I'm doing this. Or it's great what he's saying, because there is that desire to bring that home with you. And I went out, I bought a big Jeep Wrangler, because I'm like, oh, I want to go on road trips, and I could like set up like a little sleeping bag and stuff and bring my home, bring my cat with me, bring that base with me. So I think that's why like a lot of people get into van life. And they also, I'm noticing a lot of co-living things are popping up, because it used to be like co-working, which is great. But now they're almost morphing into co-living, so that, you can have everything you need in this one place and kind of almost feel like it's your home still. And you get your own like little apartment and your own little kitchen, everything. So I think that desire to have the base is exactly what you said. And I think it's giving rise to these like different movements. I love to watch all of it. I love van life. I just feel like it wouldn't be safe for a woman to do alone. So I would need a boyfriend to do that. Got to work on that.
Like I say, van life is really cool. And the thing is, most people that I've seen doing van life are couples, right? It's always a guy and a girl. And I reckon it does get boring if you're like alone and just doing van life, right? So a couple makes sense.
Safe too. Like, I feel like if I was all alone and some sketchy person saw me get out of the van by myself, like that's just not safe. I don't think a woman should do it alone.
Yeah, so there's this girl that did it alone, which is why I was so intrigued and wanted to get her on, because she did it alone with her dog. And then I think after that she met a boyfriend on the way, and then I think now they are starting a business that kind of builds vans, like customized van interiors for like
okay.
whoever they want to
Smart.
do. Yeah, so it sounds really interesting. Yeah, so I'll see if I can get her on, but that's really cool. Yep. And you were in Soho House, right? And is there a co-living space almost as well, like a bit of work stuff and?
Yeah, like there's a co-working element to the Soho House, but then there's no living. Like they have a hotel in some of them, but you have to pay to stay each night, and it's often way too much money. So I could see them, heading in that direction, but they mainly just have like a co-working space. So honestly, in some of those houses, it's so packed that you sometimes can't even find a space to do your work. So, I'm more so in the Soho House for the like social element of it. It's definitely not a like functional business place though. It's better just for catching up with people.
That's interesting. They are quite exclusive, right? As far as I know. So I'm surprised when
you say
that.
Yeah, they are. It's member only. I applied, I think 3 years ago, to actually spite someone who told me I would never get in. If you know me, that's like, duh. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go apply, because this person doesn't think I'm like cool enough or whatever to get in this house. I'm going to show them. And I got accepted.
Nice. Yeah. So there's this thing that I think is very interesting to talk about, and I think you address it a lot as well, is tell me about the creator mindset, because I know when you put yourself out there, especially on your TikTok, there are people that comes to you and say, hey, you are a fraud, like this is not possible. It's not possible to make $1 million on like Fiverr. And I see you addressing some of it occasionally, regarding like people saying, hey, show us a screenshot of your earnings and those kind of stuff. So tell us a bit more about like the mindset and mentality to have when you want to put yourself out.
I guess I'm just at a place where I've recognized that anytime you apply yourself at anything and put yourself out there, you're going to get negative feedback, because people are going to be jealous and they wish they could do it too. So they're going to be triggered by it. And I've kind of come to terms with that's most people. And so be it. I'm going to just be authentic and be myself. And now I'm in a place when people write really mean things where I actually just can laugh, because I recognize really doesn't have anything to do with me. It's conjuring up something in them that they hate, or that they, they're sad that they can't pursue their dreams or whatever it is. So I really just don't take it personally anymore. And I have fun sometimes in the comments. I know people write, they're like, I literally follow you for your snapbacks at people, because sometimes I like to make jokes and have a sense of humor. So I'll make a joke back to someone's nasty comment. And sometimes people will be like, oh my God, that was so mean. I'm like, you guys, it's a joke. Come on. Where's the humor in the world today? I feel like people have to lighten up more. I think our world's very serious today.
Yeah, I guess the online world is a bit, there's just too many characters out there, right? Like you put a statement out, it could be a joke, and some people will take it seriously, some people will not. the amount of opinions out there are just crazy. And the problem with the online world is that people are less reserved because it's not face to face. So it's just typing,
Sure.
basically keyboard warriors, and they just basically type whatever comes to their mind without having concerns about like how others
Whatever.
think.
And I'm just like, I'll always say to them when someone writes something nasty, I'll say like, thanks for the comment. It's going to help my video in the algorithm. Like, I've figured out a way where I'm like, I got to set up ads and stuff because anytime someone comments negative stuff on TikTok, I make money from it. So I'm just here laughing, like, just laugh all the way to the bank with stuff, That's my attitude with it. Like, all right, if you're going to comment the nasty stuff, I'm going to turn the ads on.
Yeah,
Whatever.
sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I guess it's really having a mindset that is to be like not take things seriously and to be the bigger person, whereby that there's going to be negative feedback. There's this saying that if like 10% of your audience don't hate you, your audience is basically not big enough.
Yeah, that's a great saying. I like that. I like that a lot.
Tell us a bit about your content strategy then, because I know you're on a few social media channels and kind of what you put out is a bit different. Like I see, like for example, your Instagram is obviously more photo based and more of like all the different parts of your businesses and daily life. But then I see you more on Facebook interacting with the group that you have, helping them with like freelancing advice. And on TikTok is almost purely based off Fiverr freelancing and related stuff, right? So how are you using the different social media and putting them all together?
I wish I could say I like make this big strategy, but I don't. I just test out each platform and what works the best. So like Facebook, I'm not marketing. Those are just my Facebook group members. So I'm just like, it's like my little community on there. I'm just talking to them. Instagram, I just mess around with what works. I've noticed, when I do a laptop picture or I talk about what it's like to be a 28-year-old, female writer, that tends to resonate with people. And on TikTok, people want to see the receipts, as Gen Z says. Like they want to see, they want to see a screenshot of what I'm making. They want to see what my car looks like. They want to go right into the proof on TikTok. So I've developed my strategy just around testing stuff all these years. Even today, after we get off this, I have a few more videos I filmed, newer videos for me that I'm going to test and see how they do with the algorithm. It's just kind of I'm just testing stuff out each week. See what works. I like to learn, so it's like a fun little game.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, then do you do most of because one other thing about productivity that we're talking about that I find myself very useful is that I like to bulk process a certain task that is similar. So that means if like you do a bulk of your filming all at one go, although like you could be filming content that's going to spread across 5 days, but you just do it at one shot. Right, because it's more efficient than to have to keep changing your mindset to film every day.
Yeah, I definitely do a like TikTok video dump, like where I'll do 2 hours one day and I'll get like 20 videos done. I'll like segment it like that, or I'll have a content day with the camera where I might pack like 2 outfits in my Jeep if I'm going out with my friend, and I'll try and get like 3 pictures done. So I definitely am someone who tries to maximize my time with it. So I'll do, like pictures one day, TikToks the next day, podcasts the next day. I'm trying to get, YouTube the next day. So I like to like do them all at once. Cause I think if I did a little bit each day, it would slow my day down. I'd rather just like, boom, one and done, boom, one and done. That's, I guess how my brain works with it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm trying to get that done myself as well, as in like setting up the systems in place, because I'll say a good portion of my stuff are still very one-off kind of thing. And it's just not good. Like it's not very efficient.
Yeah. And then you get in the zone with it. You're like, all right, I'm in the TikTok zone. Like, let's do it. Let's do this whole thing.
Yep. I think that's true. So I need to look into that as well. You were saying YouTube, right? And I know you haven't done a lot on YouTube per se. What are you looking to do there? And I also know you're on Clubhouse, being quite active. Yes. So what are you doing on both platforms?
YouTube, I have like 4 videos up. They're terrible videos I made during quarantine. So I'm looking to like get a strategy down where I look up YouTube keywords, what's trending, and I make 10, 20, 30-minute videos where I'm really diving into topics here with people and teaching them things. Because I want to get those videos, ranked in Google so that they start to make me a little money each month, like a video of like, what is freelancing or something. But I'm starting to amass all the correct electronics. You can't see them. They're all like right here. I still need to like figure that one out, but at least I figured out the podcast. I have this nice like thing here.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
That's big. Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah. And then Clubhouse is taking off. So I like to just like be where the action is. So I'm just trying to like get in there and get a lot of followers before it becomes huge. And it's hard to get followers. I always like to get in stuff in the beginning.
And what do you think about Clubhouse at the moment? Because there's been like varying reviews about it. On like some people are going in and obviously it's the hot thing and everyone's jumping in, but there's also reviews saying that like a lot of people just going up to try and sell themselves and
both of those things are happening, but I think they're inevitable. Of course, people are trying to sell themselves on it. Like I'm just like, I don't join those rooms. I don't go in and listen to someone sell themselves. Like they can do that all they want. I go in and listen to other stuff where I host my own room and I'm getting tremendous value out of it. So it doesn't bother me. It's like, of course, people are trying to sell themselves on there. It's humans. They're like, oh, way to make money. Boom. So I'd say both of those things are happening. I like the app. I like that there's no video component. So I can just look like crap and be like laying on the ground and talking into my phone because the video element, you have to make sure you're sitting upright. You don't look terrible. And sometimes that's annoying. So
I guess that's a personal preference as well, right? If your branding is like, this is me naturally, and then that will probably work as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably easier for guys, right? Because you don't have to do anything.
That's true.
I mean, I don't have any makeup on right now or anything. I'm just doing my thing here. But like as a woman, it's tough because you're like, oh, I have to put on makeup. I have to put on an outfit. I have to whatever, and it's like, I'm busy. Some days I'm like, I'm too busy for that. I'm too busy to get all dialed up. Which some people have come for me on my TikTok videos. Some guys have commented like, oh, she makes $1 million, but she can't bother to put on makeup. And I'm like, I'm over here running a business, okay? And like some days I don't have 30 minutes to put makeup on because I'm busy.
Yeah,
people
that's crazy.
Ruthless. Yeah.
I don't understand why some people will tag like. Well, I guess maybe that's the norm in the past, right? Whereby this successful person is always well dressed but I think these days it's really the people they are making it are really, I can't be bothered what other people think because I'm just doing my own stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, today, for example, I'm going to work all day home. I'm not going anywhere. So there's no need for me to put on $100 worth of makeup because I'm not going anywhere. I'm working at home today. So, I might record a TikTok with no makeup on. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, like you look good even without makeup and stuff, so I don't think you have to worry too much about it.
You have to go tell the people on TikTok that.
Wait, one question. Your red hair is it's not natural, right? Like you dye your hair red, right?
No, God, it's not natural. No, I have like black hair.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean that's the signature. But because I told you, I first heard about you on a CNBC article. I saw it, and then obviously it was unique because you had red hair, and then I didn't. Yeah. After that, I didn't think much about it. Then when I was just checking out TikTok, and then I saw one of your posts that just popped up on my feed. Right, I'm like, this looks very familiar because you started talking about freelancing, and then I'm like, the red hair feels like I've seen it somewhere.
Yeah.
I think it's the same person. Yeah, that's kind of how I found you actually.
This is good branding right here.
Yeah,
good branding.
It's good branding. It's funny because that day I was watching a video from Gary Vaynerchuk, which you also follow, I know. So he was talking to this guy who also had a red hair, and that was kind of part of his branding, but he had to shave off his hair because I think he did a bet with his friends or something and he lost, so he had to shave off his hair. And then he decided that he will wear a red beanie instead because then he continues the branding and it's still red in color. Yeah.
Okay. That would be me if I had to shave my hair. Yeah.
Okay. So let's conclude with this thing that I think most people would like to hear. So if you are just looking to get started with Fiverr, right? What are some of the main tips that you have? Because as we said just now, competition is obviously getting more and more because more people want to come into the space. So how do you make yourself stand out as a freelancer or freelance writer?
Okay, so I always say to people, the first thing I say to them is to get the idea of saturation out of their head, because there is no such thing if you wake up and bust your ass and commit yourself to being the best. There's always room for you if you're going to work your ass off. So I'll say to them first, you have to have that conversation with yourself. Are you willing to tell yourself that saturation doesn't exist and do your best? And then if they're like, yes, I am, I'm like, okay, so now you'll make it to the next step here. Online on freelancing sites, you need to build trust with buyers. So the quickest way to do that is to do, I'd say three things. Have professional photos taken of you with eye contact, smiling, and plaster them all over your freelancing profile, because that builds trust. That tells people you're not lying. You're not saying you are someone you're not. And it just helps us to see other human beings, to connect with them. So plaster your image around everything. I don't care if you're shy. They're not, you're not modeling here. You're just showing people like, I am who I say I am. Now, to help with that trust, people want to see examples of your work. So if you don't have a portfolio, do free work for people and make a portfolio. You need to have examples of your work to show buyers. You can't expect them to just go on a whim and go, oh, this person's never done an order in their life. Let's see how this goes. You're going to wait a lot longer to get your first client if you do that. So you need to, there needs to be proof, A, that you look like you are who you say you are, and then B, that you have, the samples of work to show people. And when that happens, when all those things come together, people will review you in the third step, and they're going to leave you, the best review that they can leave, because you've gone above and beyond for them. You've won their trust. They like you. They're going to leave you a 5-star review. That's social proof. And then, the next person who comes along, they're going to see that 5-star review. They might not even need a sample of your work anymore. They're going to trust you because the first person is vouching for you. So it becomes this cycle that kind of goes, speeds up more and more and more. And it all starts by understanding that these people need to trust you. So whatever questions they ask you, answer them, be open, be honest. Don't lie about yourself. You don't need to lie. The beginning, no one's asking you to say, oh, I'm a CEO of this, this, and this. They know you're not. And that's okay. Be transparent, show them examples, be willing to work with them. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, that's good advice. That's good advice. And I think you are also you are constantly repeating the same messages in all your content to tell people, this. Just go ahead and do it, because
just do it. Yeah. Just do it. A lot of people talk about it for a year. I'm like, you wasted a year. Just do it. Don't be scared.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I like one of your posts that was like, if you are thinking if you should go into freelancing, if you're looking for a sign, this is the sign to do it.
Yeah.
Some people actually responded to it, because I saw some comments that like, I'm going to get started just because I saw you put out this as the sign.
I'm like, yeah, guy, so many people, they're so scared today. I'm like, there's nothing to be scared about. You're not buying a house. You're not, just make a profile. Just do it. I give them the little pat they need to get moving.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, cool. Thank you so much for coming on today, Alex.
Yes, thank you for having me, Rex.
No, it's glad to have you here. I think a lot of the audience will find a lot of value from it, just because most people are trying to get into the space via freelancing, and it's definitely a viable option. As in, you did it, I did it. I think it's a good base to start doing something.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Absolutely. You say, there's really not much fear in doing anything. What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly. That's what I say to people. What's the worst that could happen?
Thank you for listening to Chat with Nomads. Please remember to subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And be sure to share with your friends. Also, we'd love to know what topics you'd like to hear more about. To stay updated on the latest, join us on our mailing list at chatwithnomads.com. You can also find more travel and nomading tips at Nomads Unveiled. That's NOMADsunveiled.com. Start living your dreams today. We'll catch you in the next episode.